And thank you for tuning in. That said, if you guys want to contribute to our topics, have any questions, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we're doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. Now let's jump right into it. Today's topic is World Poetry Day. Our guest for the show is Kenny, a staff member here at FEBA. It's indeed a pleasure to have you.
Welcome. Thank you so much, Yohann.
Now let's jump right into it. A couple of days ago, we had a poster sent out to all you poets out there to write a poem of your choice and send it to us. So for today's show, Benny and I will be going through them and giving you our thoughts on them. So we have Benny start with us.
Okay, so thank you so much for having me on the show today. And me and Johan, as you said, will be going through a couple of poems written by a couple of poets. And to start off with, we have a young poet among us. So her name is Michelle Eliana, who's 10 years old. And she has written a poem called as Happy. It says, I have always been happy, but no friends at all. Just I like to smile because having a smile on the face makes me happy. I have smile on my face because Jesus is in me, so I always have a smile on my face. And if Jesus is there in your heart, then you will always remain smiling to others. And if others see you, they will also smile at you. And in the end, she has written Happy and Shine. And Michelle is just 10 years old and she has written this amazing poem, Johan. So thank you so much, Michelle, for sending your poem to us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now coming over to our next poem is a couple of poems, so a total of five, written by Miss Sonali. So the first one is Somewhere Beyond Imagination. My mind carries me away, somewhere distant and far, where I sense the fragrant jasmine and see a water-filled jar. I see the fields, I see the falls, no commotion I see, no pain I feel. Yes, this land does exist somewhere beyond imagination. Land overflowing with abundance, land beyond dreams. Love is the core essence here. Left for nothing is the pride. Faint visions of it I see, in my spirit and my mind. Like a breeze when I enter there, then I fully know. Till then I await and obediently so. It's indeed a real work of art actually. So it kind of reminds me like I'm standing by a small stream and I'm just imagining what this take place. So it's a really nice personification happening there. So we'll have the next poem now.
So the next poem is written by Grace. So Grace has written a beautiful poem which says, "Recipe of his love for those days." It's something like this. When you're angry and furious or sad and blue, don't look for love from all those around you. His love for you is the world's best recipe. It's better than all worldly doctors and therapy. His love is flavored with mercy and grace, an extra dose of kindness as per the case. It's seasoned with gentleness and care. Generous amount of peace he uses to prepare. A dash of goodness in every single bite. The coating of faithfulness is perfectly right. A dollop of truth always sits at the side. Dip his love in it and don't push it aside. This wholesome recipe is all you'll ever need. This will cure you of earthly pains like misery and greed. Find a quiet corner or a fine spot to cherish his love. The blissful taste will make you croon like a content dove. By Grace Sarah Knight. While I was reading this poem, I came across this Bible verse which says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." To put it in the modern context, Only if you have tasted something good, you can tell it to others. For example, let's say I have never tasted a biryani and you ask me, how is this biryani? And what answer would you expect me to give? I have no idea. But then if I have tasted the same biryani that you're talking about, then it makes sense, right?
Yeah,
So taste and see that the Lord is good. And that's what, grace is also put in. His love is flavored with mercy and grace, an extra dose of kindness as per the case. Depends on what you're talking and depends on who is about, right? Very
yeah.
well done, Grace. Thank you so much for sending in us.
Thank you so much. Now, the next poem is again by Miss Sonali. So it's titled A Message. God so gracious, God so kind. How many in this world are by destruction made so blind? Can't they not see that each creation of yours is so unique? But merciless are their ways, slaughtering, killing, and making women their keeps. God, don't they realize that each man has to return to dust one day, and power and fame and destruction is just going to lead them to dismay? What will happen when they stand before you on Judgment Day? Shame, remorse, and utter disgrace will be their only way. God, I pray for the souls of these men, because I know that only now they can repent and get out of their den. If only men would value life and creation as much as his own, this world would be a place called heaven, and only love would be sown. God, if there's a gift you can grant me, ever so pleasant, give me a chance to change the hearts of men into a river of life instead of a dry, barren desert. Now, this particular poem, it has a lot to pertain to today's day and age, especially you take a look at the wars that are happening, Russia and Ukraine.
Hmm.
So this really ties into it. And again, a very, very good poem written on today's day and also for the past wars that have taken place and for the future wars that are to come. Really, job well done, Mr. Nali. And Benny, would you please continue with the next
Sure.
poem?
So I've got this beautiful another beautiful poem from Nancy, who's a friend of mine, and the poem goes like this: It takes a lot to strengthen a weakened heart. It takes a lot to hold on to a weakened relationship. She meant him a world to be, sacrificed as much as she could to hold on to the heart she thought of to be hers, warning signs in a dream, yet ignored it all, thinking it could be nothing. Lord showed her ways. One fine day she left everything. The heart was no more hers, neither she believed in Lord. Things flip in seconds, and so does the heart. It takes a lot to let loose, and that's the only fate. Few times, sometimes, many a times, things don't happen the way we expect it to. And
Yeah.
this poem, very well drafted by Nancy. Thank you so much, Nancy, for sending this poem in. Thank you.
We have another poem by Miss Sonali titled Unchained. Doing the same folly over and over again, wanting to break free, but to this affliction tightly chained. Every measure you took seemed to be in vain. When addiction has its ground strongly gained, why could you not get out on your own and flee? Why did you drown as if being pulled down by a heavy weight in the sea? Take heart, my friend, you are not alone. Temptations, trials, and addictions we all have borne. There is no sin except what is common to man. You are not alone, and we should stand together. The Bible says to confess to other and ask for prayers. A righteous man's prayer is effective and power bears. The healing comes when we adhere to what God says in His Word. Take heart, my friend, as our prayers to our Heavenly Father are not unheard. So this again titles the title Unchained. Now, you look at many problems like we humans face. We cannot do it on our own. We do need help from God.
Yes.
So this, in a way, is like if you ask me, I say it's a way of praying to God and asking Him for help in situations you do not have any control over, situations you cannot face alone. So this is another well-written poem by Miss Sonali. Thank you so much.
Another well-written poem by Grace, which goes very well with the two poems that we read earlier, from one from Sonali and one from Nancy. This poem that's written by Grace Sarah Knight, it puts them together and talks about the bigger picture that God has in our life. The poem goes something like this: we know not what's around the curve or what lies ahead, but each single night that we lay down on a sweet bed, the pain and confusion just seem more than we can bear, but we should know that He is in control and He will take care. He sees each precious tears that trickle down. He sees your frustrated efforts through your frown. He sees the sorrows behind each sunny smile. He knows you'd like to put your feet up for a while. We see our burdens are nothing beyond. He sees our walk with Him and a bond. The earthly pain and burden are just for now. He walks with you, though you wonder how. We see a part of the puzzle through our eyes. He sees the bigger picture beyond the skies. Trust Him with your all and hold His hand. You'll soon cross over and join the heavenly band. Uh, to our listeners, especially Sonali and Nancy, if you're watching the stream, either YouTube or Instagram, this is for you from Grace Sarah Knight. God sees you. Trust Him with your all and just hold Him. And as Grace says, you'll soon cross over and join the heavenly band. And it's for a short time that the sufferings are there. But in the end, God sees you, and you're not just alone. God is with you. So I think, dear Sonali and Nancy, this is also one for you. Thank you so much, Grace.
Now, coming over to the next poem, it's again by Miss Sonali, titled You. If hate comes first and love later, if destruction comes first and appreciation later, if jealousy comes first and appreciation later, the problem, my dear friend, is that you came first and others later. This poem titled You, it holds a lot of weight, especially if we talk about friendships and relationships, most
Mm,
importantly in relationships. So sometimes they say if you're too selfish in relationships, it completely falls apart.
it rips
So
apart. Yes.
exactly, it completely rips apart, and that causes problems for both sides. And sometimes it does more damage to you than it does for the other person. So this is once again a very well written poem by Mr. Knight.
And actually, I think being in relationship and when it falls apart, I think that's a collateral damage rather than having the effect on the one side. I think
Yeah,
both of them get affected by it a very lot.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Johan, I was wondering. I was waiting to ask you this question. Any idea how the flowers got their colors? Any clues?
I have no clue.
Okay, so let's see this
Definitely
poem.
no
That's
clue.
let's listen to this poem by Grace Sarah, and it goes like this. The poem is how the flowers got their colors. You know, one evening, God was taking a lonely walk. He looked for someone to whom he could talk. He looked hither and thither and found none. For friendly company, he had the setting sun. The light grew dim and the stars shone bright. God talked to the round, silvery moon at night. The new day dawned with a bright, warm sun. God decided to go around and have some fun. He let his toes sink into the soft green grass. He let his fingers get tickled by the playful bars. The brook babbled as he sat by the sandy side. God climbed a fluffy cloud and went for a joyride. From up above, he looked at the green carpet. An idea dawned as he scanned the new target. He took out his easel, the colors, and his brush. Patterns and designs came to him in a rush. He drew and colored and played all day. The macaw, the parakeet, and the blue jay. They were astounded at this represented work of art. The flowers got colors and it warmed his heart. And that's how, my friend, the flowers got their colors. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah.
That was indeed a really
It's
joyful,
good,
happy
right?
poem. Yeah, it was very good actually. So, coming over to my final poem, again by Miss Sonali. It's titled The Little Light in the Sea. The night is weary, all around is dark. A light shines brightly, staying afloat like a lone ark. It's a small light, but enough for someone to see the way through the unknown and reach where they are meant to be. I thought, what would a small light do? But of the impact it had, I never knew. Would not the boat have wrecked on the rocks with me, but for the little lighthouse that lit the way in the deep dark sea. Now, this title, "The Light in the Sea." Now, it can also be, you know, put into play when you're facing a very dark point in your life, and you always see there's a small light. You know, they say light at the end of the tunnel.
Exactly.
So this also can be, put in that way. And again, a very, very well written poem by Miss Sonali. So, Benny, do you have any closing statements?
Yes, I would love to do that. And I would like to thank our contestants for sending us your poems, especially for Michelle, Nancy, Grace, and Sonali. Thank you so much for taking part of this contest. And uh, dear viewers, dear listeners, you can view this poems on our website, febaonline.org, as well as our Instagram and Facebook social media pages. And would also like to say this to everyone on the platform watching us today. Why do we have to celebrate this World Poetry Day? And I think this is the occasion to honor the poets. They try to revive the oral traditions of poetry, recitals, and they try to promote the reading, writing, and the teaching of poetry, and they try to foster the convergence between poetry and other such art, as theater, dance, music, and painting. And they raise the visibility of poetry in the media. As poetry continues to bring people together, I would request our viewers, our listeners, and my dear friends, if you have anything in your mind, put it on a piece of paper. Don't mind what it could be. Just put it on in the piece of paper. Who knows? It could become a poem one day. I think, Johan, you can go ahead and conclude the session.
Yeah, for sure. Now, before I conclude the session, I just want to, thank everyone for submitting their poems. Like each one of you are very talented. These poems that Benny and I have read, like these are really, really good poems. Please do continue your work. And also, I'd like to encourage like other participants as well. Like any future um, stuff we have like this in the near future. Like, please do participate, and you will be featured on this show. And with that said, that brings us to the end of today's show. If you guys have anything at all, like any insights, any information, any feedback as well, you can reach out to us at 6364 252164. And a huge thank you for Benny for joining us on today's show,
Thank you so
and to our
much.
listeners as well, for tuning in to this edition of the Reality Bang, your weekly dose of youth power, brought to you by FEBA Online. This is RJ Yohann. Hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next Monday. God bless you.